Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Thursday. It's April 6th. It is 2023. We have a now 4-game baseball slate to talk about here on today's podcast. No Mets game, no Philadelphia game. Weather already knocking that out. We also have our first Coors game of the season. So a lot of fun, and joined today by Timothy Buell, Tasteful Tides. What's happening, my friend?
Oh, not much, Stevie. Just kind of winding down some of the other sports that we got going on over at RotoGrinders. Basketball season's kind of winding down, hockey season's winding down. It's just, and now we're here for the best time of the year, and in my opinion, that's baseball season. So, baseball's I think hockey. I think hockey's my favorite to watch, but I think baseball is my favorite to play DFS with. So I really enjoy playing DFS baseball.
Yeah, I enjoy it too, especially when we get these day baseball game slates. A 4-gamer, not my favorite. If it was 6, all right, we can get on it. I mean, the pitching on this slate is kind of interesting, I think, is the nicest way to put it. I mean, we don't have like end all like this guy. We're 100% playing this guy. So I think, for that reason, it's even more of an interesting slate. Like Washington's offense has been terrible, and they're in Coors, and Chris Sale looked awful in his first start, and he gets Detroit. So I mean, it's I feel like there's going to be ways to be contrarian on this slate, which is always something, kind of a slate overview thing that we like to see, where there's going to be ways to be contrarian. But if I'll probably play 3 entry max or maybe even single entry today. If I'm playing 20 entry max, 150 entry max, I am leaving my pitching pool wide open today, because I don't think there's a clear cut top option on this slate. I mean, we're going to talk about some guys that are solid. We're going to talk about some guys that might be solid, and then we're going to talk about the other guys. But I don't think there's it's probably a Gaussman, little bit of a gap, Lynn, Wood, Sale question mark, and then the rest of everybody else. So
I'm curious right off the bat. I mean, we got some time to kill. I'm curious
we have plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm curious right off the bat. See, I would rank Sale pretty close to number one, then maybe Gaussman. I would say they're 1A, 1B. I was surprised that you named another name kind of in between there. I think Sale is going to be the chalk, and I think he might be the best player. Like it depends on what contest you're playing. That he might be like a good leverage spot to get away from, but I think he's going to rate out really well in projections, is my guess. And I don't know, like the Tigers. I mean, if you look at RotoGrinders, if you're a premium member, you can look at things like Plate IQ. They're just a sea of red, right? Everywhere you look up and down that lineup. So I don't know. I think Sale's going to be the number one guy. I think.
Well, that's the first game we talk about. So, I mean, we can dig into it. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into it. This is the 7th year anniversary of the morning grind. So we have been going for 7 years, started baseball season 2016. So first off, thank you to everyone that listens all the time. I appreciate you all. We're going to do something fun. We're going to do a giveaway for 1 year of RotoGrinders Premium. 1 year of RotoGrinders Premium. So
That's
how
awesome.
you enter the giveaway is subscribe to the YouTube page. We're trying to grow it, obviously, so that helps me out and helps us out. Comment on any video from today, Thursday, Friday, and then we're going to pick the winner on Monday. And I'm going to do it live on the show. So I'm going to do it live. I'm going to throw if you want extra chances, comment one time on Thursday, comment one time on Friday. I'm going to go through the comments. I'm going to write everybody's name down. I'm going to put it in a hat. And then live on the show Monday, I'm going to pick a name out of the hat, and you're going to win a year of RotoGrinders Premium. So we appreciate everyone listening. I've been doing this for a long time. I have gray in my beard now. I didn't have gray in my beard when we first started 7 years ago. So I appreciate you all. I was talking with some people at RotoGrinders, and we thought this would be really fun. So appreciate everyone. Let's get into it. Let's talk some baseball. And if you want a chance to win a year of RotoGrinders Premium, I'll mention it again today. I'll mention it again a couple times tomorrow. But comment on the YouTube page. Go on the RotoGrinders Morning Grind YouTube, subscribe, and comment on the 2 videos from today and tomorrow, and you can win a chance or have a chance to win a year of RotoGrinders Premium. So take advantage of it. We have some of the best
listening
tools.
to this. I've been listening to this show since 2017, Stevie. Not quite since the beginning, but pretty darn close. Yeah, I've been listening to you since 2017. And
you're still playing, huh? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, and back, I have gray in my hair. I didn't back in 2017, but I do now. So maybe it's just from playing DFS. Maybe it's not age. It's just from all the bad beats, just worrying about all the sweats that we've had, So
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Tim was asking me before about do I remember all day slates, and we were talking about how they should have opened this slate up to an all day slate. And I told Tim to remember that my FanDuel account was made in 2009. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a road. So appreciate everyone. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for everyone listening. So thank you. As far as comment on the video, I think you can do it after the live show is over. I don't know if you can do it live. If you comment in chat, I'll make sure you get your name in the hat. So, yeah, 2019, 2016. Heck yeah. Let's go. All right, we got Boston at Detroit. That man, Chris Sale, is on the mound. Going up against Turnbull, 8 total. Red Sox, a 155 favorite in this game. Let's get started right off the bat. Chris Sale. I mean, you kind of already gave your thoughts. I'm going to let you have the floor one more time before I talk about it. I don't want to poo-poo on anything, but I'm going to bring up some numbers that worry me a little bit, and the eye test definitely worried me. So one more time, go for it. Talk about Chris Sale.
I totally agree that the eye test, Stevie, would be a disaster if that's how you're going to grade it. Yes, I definitely agree with that point. I'm just kind of still a believer in his long-term skill set, and I am a real believer in how bad this Detroit team is. So it's just, there's only so many other pitchers to choose from. Also, like if this was a full slate, and we wanted to find reasons to get away from kind of scary situations, things that we don't necessarily trust, then we could do that. But on this slate, I'm having a hard time kind of pushing myself away from who I think is one of the 2 best pitchers on the slate. So that's my argument. I definitely would like to hear yours, because I'm sure your argument makes sense.
I mean, really not fully stretched out. That's one concern, but I mean, it's a 4-game slate, so I don't know if that matters too much. Gave up 3 home runs, got a little BABIP in that first game. So, I mean, I don't think it was as much as DeGrom. We talked about DeGrom yesterday on the podcast and how much I loved him because he just got super unlucky in his first start. Sale got a little unlucky. I mean, the positives, right? So the positives for Chris Sale was he averaged 94 miles an hour on his fastball. His last full season, 2019, full season, he averaged around 93 miles an hour on his fastball. He's always been a fly ball guy. That's not anything different. The slider velocity was good. The changeup velocity was good. So if you're looking at that kind of stuff and thinking, all right, the BABIP was really high, it was. So if you're looking at the BABIP and you're like, all right, he got BABIP'd a little bit, which he did, and he's facing Detroit, which he is, and you're like, it's a 4-game slate, let's play Chris Sale. So all of that makes perfect sense. The price tag is fantastic. I worry about the ownership. I think he is going to be pretty popular. It's a 4-game slate. If he gives up 3 runs and scores 12 points, There's people that will beat him even on a 4-game slate. So, large field tournament wise, sure. I mean, you could definitely go overweight, and there's obviously reasons to go underweight. He's 34 years old. He has not pitched a full season since 2019. He's dealt with injuries. He has not looked right in years. And I mean, I want to see him come out and pitch well. I'm a Red Sox fan. Everyone knows that. I want to see him pitch well, but everything that was coming off the bat was hard, and that worries me, even against a team like Detroit. So
70% hard hit rate.
Yeah, it wasn't good, and that's it's kind of
30,
his problem.
30% barrel rate.
Yeah, it was kind of his problem last year too. The 2 starts that we saw him for last year, everything was hit hard. So, do I like Chris Sale? Yes. Am I going to play him in single entry? It really is going to depend on ownership. If he's going to be 60 to 70% owned, I probably don't fade. I probably fade him in my single entry build. If I'm playing cash games, I'm building around either Gausman, Lynn, Wood, or Sale, like those 4 guys. So any of those 4 guys, I think, could be your cash game pitchers today.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And the other thing is, if Sale is going to be popular, which I really strongly believe that he's going to be, you probably don't want to stack cores with him. You're eating a ton of chalk, and that's not how you're going to win. That's not how you're going to like solo ship a large field GPP. Like, you're going to have to find leverage somewhere. So maybe you could say stat cores without Sale and get onto one of the lower owns viable pitching options. Like, you don't want to just eat all the chalk in baseball on a 4-game slate. So
I can't wait to talk cores, just for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And the problem with the slate, right, is we've gone from like a 6-game slate to a 4-game slate, and all 4 games are outdoors in 45 to 50 degree weather.
Yes.
It's just the slate. It's not the best. All right. All right. The other side of this game is Spencer Turnbull. I can say with confidence, I'm not playing Spencer Turnbull.
Yes, I'm going to agree with that.
Yeah,
I really love the Red Sox bats. Like, if we're gonna get huge ownership on Washington, Colorado, I would try to get overweight on the Red Sox, to be honest with you. Like, any of them, Devers, Verdugo, Yoshida, Duvall, Cassis, like Kike, all of them, really. I mean, Turnbull is an absolute gas can. We're going to be streaming hitters against him all season long. I would not be. I haven't. I have not seen the weather in Detroit. I don't know. It's not a great park for hitters. It's probably going to be cold, but you need to get some leverage somewhere if Colorado is going to be like so extremely owned. So this would be, in my opinion, I think this is the next best spot. So this, just because it's against Turnbull.
Yeah, I mean, Turnbull missed last season with some injuries and came back, and he just had no command whatsoever in that start against Tampa. So I agree with you. I like the bats here for the Red Sox. No real interest in Spencer Turnbull. He's been an average strikeout guy, throughout his career. And if he's going to struggle with command and he's going to put guys on, I mean, this is a team that can punish him. There's 3 or 4 guys in this lineup that can punish him. So I have no interest in Turnbull. And as far as the weather, it's the night before, but every single game looks like it's going to be 45 to 50 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no like amazing hitting conditions on any of these games. If you're playing the 2-game late slate, both of those games project to be like 75 degrees. And I mean, one's in Arizona. They may or may not have the roof open, and the Atlanta game has the best hitting conditions on the slate, and it's not on the slate. So, which it should be. They should have just opened it up. Let us play all 6. All right, let's talk bats here. Obviously, going to the Boston side first. They're on the road. I mean, it's the same guys. It's Devers. It's Cassis. I would assume that Yoshida is back in the lineup today. It sounded like it was just giving him a day off kind of thing. They've played every day except for the 31st since opening day. So They've been playing a bunch. What are your thoughts here on the Red Sox bets?
I mean, other than Coors Field, I think that they're the best bats on the slate. I want to get well overweight them in tournaments. I mean, I think you could stack them pretty easily. There's not a lot of like super high end pitching to pay for, so I don't think it's going to be that hard of a stack to get to. You know, I don't know, like, what your thoughts on Verdugo hitting leadoff is. Like, I don't view him as like a tremendous DFS asset. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like he's like a real like solid contact guy, but I don't know about his ceiling. It's kind of like, I don't know. Like, I prefer, obviously I prefer, Devers and Yoshida and Duvall would probably be my favorite three. And then get to like Cassis if you wanted some value. But I don't know about Verdugo.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that has kind of shocked me, it really hasn't even shocked me, but one thing that like has stood out to me is how much teams are running on the Red Sox and how much the Red Sox are not running. So
Mm,
I thought
right.
Verdugo, like he's been on base a bunch. He's been on base a bunch. And I don't, quote me if I'm wrong, chat. I don't think he has tried to steal a base yet. I know he doesn't have any stolen bases, but I don't think he's actually tried to steal a base yet. And I mean, this is a guy that was on base every single game until Wednesday. So I don't know. That
And
worries me a little bit.
he's 4,600. Like, he's not exactly cheap. So I mean, I think that given that price point, he might be like a popular selection that I would stay away from.
All right, Detroit bats. What are your thoughts here when it comes to the Tigers bats?
The bottom line is this is only a leverage play. This is only like, I want to go boom or bust with my bankroll tomorrow. That's kind of like this spot. If you want to if Chris Sale's super popular and you want to take a big chance that somehow Detroit can be the stack that wins you all the money, then go ahead. Stranger things have happened on a 4-game MLB slate. It's not something that I'm probably going to do as like a single entry 3 max player, but I guess you could one off like Javier Baez, maybe Eric Haas, but other than that, in terms of one offs, I'm not really that. I mean, this team is horrible. It's so bad. It's going to be one of the worst, if not the worst, offenses in baseball.
Okay, I mean, I think they're the ultimate leverage stack today.
Yeah,
No doubt about it. Like if you're playing a 20 entry max, you're getting exposure to Detroit today. Like if you're playing 150, they should definitely be in your
yeah.
pool. They're the ultimate leverage team. You can run on Chris Sale. So like stolen base upside is bumped here because Chris Sale is not someone that is hard to run on. So I think like just as a pure leverage stack, they make sense. I mean, the numbers aren't going to make sense. They're terrible. I mean that's just that. If you're stacking Detroit, just know that it probably doesn't work. But if it does, you're so far ahead of the field. So far. I mean, I don't see a way that Chris Sale isn't at least 30 to 40%. I think he's going to be 50 to 60% on this 4-game slate on DraftKings. But yeah, I mean,
The higher dollar you go, the higher owned sales going to be. In
right.
my opinion,
So no, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I also think that he's going to be um, pretty highly owned and low stakes too.
Yep.
Big name recognition. We know
Yep.
Detroit's bad, so yeah. I mean, numbers wise, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Leverage and game theory wise, it makes a ton of sense. And like
Yep.
I said, there's multiple ways to get here for the Detroit bats. If they can get on base and they can run, I mean, stolen bases, they add up super fast. And all it takes is a couple big hits. The Red Sox bullpen is shaky. And again, they've played every single day since the 31st. So, I mean, how rested is some of this bullpen? Because, I mean, Kluber left the game early today on Wednesday. So,
Yeah, Boston's gonna have a tough time this year.
his under strikeout prop hit too. If you read my write up on scores and odds,
That's great.
gotta. I mean, I'm gonna. If it keeps coming out at 4.5, it's just every time. I'm just gonna pound it every single time because he is not right. All right, Toronto at Kansas City. This game is currently at an 8.5 total, and the Blue Jays are a minus 200 favorites. We got Gaussman and Lyles facing off in this one. Thoughts here on Kevin Gaussman?
I mean, I love him. I mean, he would be your pivot away from Sale, or I guess you could play them together on DraftKings. But if you're playing on FanDuel, he'd be the best possible pivot. Yeah, I mean, Gaussman, he's probably the pitcher on the slate. Like, that's probably this, I would say, the safest. Even though I think Sale, if he is like on, Sale's a better pitcher, but Gaussman probably right now is better than Sale, so he would probably be my first target, I guess, as a pitcher. But in cash games, I think you're playing Gaussman and Sale. That would probably be where you would start.
Gaussman's my favorite pitcher on the slate. I mean, this is a
Yeah,
guy that elite strikeout to walk ratio, and elite swinging strikes. Like everything outside the swinging strike zone rate is elite. He gets ahead of the account, like head in the account, like 65% of the time. Like this is the type of guy that can put up 30. He threw 90 pitches in his first start, which is a huge bump. So 95 to 100 pitches is very doable. Over 100 pitches would not shock me. His first start was against St. Louis, and he had a solid outing. This is a much worse team. Kansas City is going to win tournaments for people this year. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of young talent on this team that's fast and has a lot of raw power. But with that said, there's also a lot of opportunity taking pitchers against them, and I think this is the spot to do it. So, ton of interest here in Kevin Gaussman. Going to the other side, Lyles, I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, this guy was really solid. And I mean, he's just kind of tapered off. And he still pitches quality innings. It's just he's facing one of the best offenses in baseball. I don't want to play Jordan Lyles today.
yeah. I don't think that you should really get too much Lyles today. I would ask you this though. I know that we're skipping a little bit ahead here. I would ask you this though. Who do you think is a better leverage stack, the Royals or the Tigers?
The Tigers.
Yeah, see, I think it's the Royals.
No, I mean that's super fair.
Yeah,
And we'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, I mean for me, I think it's the Tigers, and I could be
yeah,
wrong. But
yeah.
I think honestly, like ceiling wise, Kansas City probably has more ceiling
Right.
than Detroit. So I understand like that aspect, but I also think that like Sale comes in at higher ownership than Gaussman too.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, yeah.
with like Lynn on the slate in this price range and Wood in this like price range, I just think like there's enough that like Chris Sale's price just jumps off the page that he is the highest owned pitcher on the slate.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really have much else to add as far as Jordan Lyle is concerned. Like I said, I'm not a Jordan Lyles fan, and
I
he's
don't
someone that
remember in all the years that I've played DFS. I don't remember the last time I rostered Jordan Lyles, like in
listen. He
anything.
made like it was either 2019 or 2020. I think it was 2019. Like I think that was the year that I made some money playing Lyles. He had a good season that year if I remember correctly. So all right, let's talk bats. Toronto first. I mean, Lyles is hittable, man. This is a guy that's hittable. He gives up a lot of hard contact. I think Toronto is the best stack on the slate outside of Coors. And I mean, with the weather in Coors and those two offenses, I mean, Toronto might just be the best stack on the slate.
They certainly could be. I think if I'm not stacking cores, I still prefer Boston, but I totally get your argument. I certainly don't hate it. Obviously you got George Springer, Bo Bichette, and Vlad. And don't forget about Dalton Varsho. Like, what a sneaky good ad that was from Arizona, in my opinion, anyway. Like, that's like a he's a really good all around hitter who should be batting around the fourth or fifth spot tomorrow. So I really like that whole top part of that lineup. Like, I mean, they should do really, really, really well. I still think that Boston will be lower owned than Toronto. and I think that they're pretty comparable. So I still want to lean Boston if I'm not going to be stacking cores.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Kansas City, the other side of this game, and it goes back to that conversation, large field tournament wise. I mean, they're a leverage stack. They're game theory leverage stack. They don't grade out to be like this end all offense. The projected lineup and the lineup that we saw yesterday against righty, 290 WOBA, 150 ISO, 23% Ks, right around a 41% hard hit rate, which is good. But I mean, again, a lot of free swingers, a lot of raw power. Gausman's not typically a guy that goes out and gets blown up. It's leverage. We have two of the better pitchers on the slate. I mean, so if you're playing tournaments, you have to try to gain some leverage somewhere.
Yeah, I really like a one-off of like Sal Perez. Gausman at a time, I don't know if he was last year, but at a time he was kind of reverse splitsy, wasn't he? Maybe he's kind of solved that issue, but at one time he did have some pretty pronounced reverse splits. But I really always like rostering Sal Perez because it's always amazing to have double homer upside out of your catcher position. So I think that he would make for a really strong one-off.
All right, cruising along. We got San Francisco at Chicago taking on the White Sox. 8 total in this game. Again, we're not going to see big totals today. The weather is just not good. We're not going to see big totals today. The White Sox, so not to get like too sidetracked, but this might be one of those slates where I don't even worry about stacking. I just play hitters that I like with the pitchers that I like and maybe generate some leverage with my lineup that way. I do. I mean, when I played cash games a couple years ago, I haven't played cash in NBA, MLB, and I don't know if I played last year, but I know I played the year before that. I don't remember. Again, you see these gray hairs, but I mean, I don't always.
I still play cash in MLB. I get
Yeah,
why
but I
people
don't.
don't.
Do you stack in cash, or are you are you a stack or non-stack?
I would say that I try to find kind of appropriate correlation. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to like play 4 or 5 from a team, but if there's a team that really sticks out that I can afford, then I'm gonna play, 3 or 4 of them for sure. It doesn't have to be, something that I'm actively seeking though. Like in a GPP, I'm actively seeking to stack. Like in a GPP, I always want to stack. But in cash games, it's not like something that I'm requiring myself to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think this might be one of those days where like a main type of lineup where you're not fully stacking might actually work. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alex Wood, Lance Lynn. Alex Wood first here. Any interest in Alex Wood?
I guess I mean I mean unless you're just gonna be playing Sale and Gausman in every single lineup, you're gonna have to get some sprinkles of Alex Wood. I mean, it's not exactly the most attractive play in the world. It's a little bit nerve wracking, but this is a spot where you can, just like we're talking about getting leverage with bats, this is a spot you can get leverage with pitching. Say you want to fade Chris Sale on a few teams. Say you want to fade Kevin Gausman on a few teams. Well, who are you going to choose? You're not going to be choosing Spencer Turnbull. You're not going to be choosing Jordan Lyles. You're not going to be choosing the guys we'll get to at Coors Field. So who are you going to choose, right? It's going to be Alex Wood. It's going to be Lance Lynn. So both of these guys you can sprinkle into your lineups. It's not like any kind of like ringing endorsement saying that I love them, but they are good enough pitchers that they can get you the 5-6 innings, the 4 or 5 strikeouts, and the 2 runs that could be good enough on the slate.
Yes, I mean, this is Alex Wood's first start of the season, but he threw 94 pitches in his last outing, spring training / Cactus League's outing. So I'm not worried about pitch count. We knew he was going to be back in San Francisco, like type of arm this year. I mean, they have some stellar pitching. The concern with the White Sox is they don't strike out a ton against left-handed pitching. But the flip side of that is they don't have a ton of power against left-handed pitching. So I could see Alex Wood coming out and just having a strong outing and putting up like 20 fantasy points, and it really just kind of depends on like how the rest of the slate plays out, if that's enough. So I
And I
mean,
would just say real quick, sorry to cut you off, but I would just say real quick, he's 8,400 on FanDuel, which is a $2,400 difference of to Gaussman. So he could be kind of like your route to playing more course field bats, just as a build on FanDuel.
all right, the other side of this game, we got Lance Lynn. I mean, the Giants have plenty of strikeouts in this lineup. I mean, this is the guy that I'm looking at. If Sale is going to be like 60% owned, and I'm just going to play single entry, this is the guy I'm looking at pairing Gaussman with. I'm just going to say, all right, if Sale beats me, he beats me. Lance Lynn, go out and, throw me 6 quality innings. He threw 96 pitches in his first start. He had strikeouts. He struggled with command, and I don't think that will continue to be the thing. And I mean, you're looking at a Houston team that's super patient, a Giants team that's patient, but I wouldn't call them super patient. So I like Lance Lynn a lot here. I think this is a fantastic spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm kind of neutral with him with Alex Wood. It's not. I completely agree with you. He is one of the 2 options for leverage away from Sale and away from Gaussman. I am a little bit worried that like Lynn's kind of falling off a bit, but I mean, we can't be choosy on the slate. So I really don't have that much of an issue with it. I still think I would prefer Alex Wood over Lynn, but that's just, I mean, it's close.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at his 2021 velocity, 93.5, he averaged 92.8. So like the velocity is still there. We know that like his cutter is kind of his pitch. And I mean, the velocity of his cutter really hasn't changed in the last like 3 or 4 years. So or I mean, he started throwing his cutter more last year, I mean, it's the same velocity. So I'm not too concerned as far as Lance Lynn falling off. I mean, he's done it for years. He really has. I mean, this guy's 35 years old, and he just keeps putting out good season after good season. And I mean, looking at like his swinging strike rate against Houston, it was phenomenal. So I think there's some solid upside in this spot if he can, I mean, kind of just go out and do his thing. So as far as the Giants bats, any Giants bats that you like here against Lynn?
Jock Peterson, Michael Conforto, Lamont Wade would probably be my favorites. I think that this is a pretty solid team. Like they're not like high power, but they're just solid up and down. So I think that this would be like a good, I think, like skinny stack. Like I don't know if I would 5-man stack the Giants, but if you got like 3 of them, I would have no issue with that. I think that they're in a pretty solid spot.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't mind targeting 1 or 2 power bats in this lineup. Jock Peterson would probably be my favorite. Don't mind Yaz, Conforto. I don't hate those guys. I don't want to play any righties. Lance Lynn is still very elite against righties. 28% Ks, 136 ISO, generates a lot of ground balls still. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a spot where you look at some power. If you need a cheap shortstop, Brandon Crawford. White Sox bats going up against Alex Wood. Again, it's the first start of the season. I mean, he looked phenomenal in his last spring training outing. What are your thoughts here on the White Sox bats?
I mean, it looks like he's gonna have to go up against 8 righties,
Yep.
which could end up not being good for him. It's still a spot that I would rather bet on Wood than bet on the White Sox. If you disagree, then Andrew Vaughn, Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson would be like a really contrarian pay up option tomorrow, right? Like everybody's expensive for Toronto. There's expensive pieces for Boston. There's expensive pieces at Coors, and then you got like a guy like Tim Anderson who's going to be pretty expensive. And I don't think he's going to be very high owned. So he could be a contrarian, like one-off, expensive, home run hunting.
So Eli Jimenez got put on the IL, DL, whatever the heck we're calling it this year.
Mm-hmm.
When he got put on the IL, they recalled Jake Berger, who missed out on the opening day roster. This guy had some power last year against left-handed pitching. If he
Mm-hmm.
cracks the lineup, he is a big fly ball guy that either hits the ball super hard or strikes out. So I wouldn't mind taking some tournament shots on Jake Berger here if he cracks the lineup. But I mean, it's power righties. And then like Anderson, like you mentioned, speed upside is always there with Anderson. He's not a guy that's afraid to run. All right, we finished it out. We got Washington at Colorado taking on the Rockies. First game in Coors this season. This game has a 10.5 total. Highest total by far in the slate. They're going to project well because it's Josiah Gray and Kyle Freeland facing off against each other. We will go with Josiah Gray first on the road here. Struggled big time in his first start this season. Had a matchup with Atlanta. Did not pitch well. Allowed, I think, 3 home runs. What are your thoughts when it comes to Josiah Gray?
Absolutely not. I'm gonna pass. Like he's got control problems, fly ball problems. I know that you want to take chances on a 4-game slate. This is a chance I'm not willing to take. The Rockies lineup is not very imposing, but they do have some really good guys in the top half. So I would have to strongly pass.
So I will say this. If you're playing 150 teams, I'm not. If I was, he would be in my player pool. Just because it's cores and everybody, I mean, 10.5 total. No one's playing him today. And if I was going to play a pitcher in this game, it would be him over Freeland. Maybe. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about Kyle Freeland. So, I mean, if I'm playing 150, sure, I could take some shots on Josiah Gray. But that's really it. Like, that's where it kind of just says, like, I'm out after that. Going to the other side of this game, Kyle Freeland did his thing, right? I mean, San Diego just didn't hit him at all. He hit a ton of fly balls in that game, only allowed 3 hits. Not a huge strikeout guy. It's just, we're going to keep bringing this up. And, I mean, McClanahan struggled a little bit against this Washington team yesterday, and he's a much better pitcher than Freeland. This game's in Coors. I'm on the fence on whether or not I want to play Freeland or not. What are your thoughts?
I think you can definitely play Freeland just because I think that Washington, for better or worse, I'm not really sure, they're gonna have a lot of ownership tomorrow just because they're so cheap. Like Lane Thomas is 3,300. Michael Chavis is 2,300. Alex Call's 2,500. And I'm not saying that they're outstanding hitters, but people are going to see cheap hitters at the top of lineups at Coors Field, and they're going to play them. That's just, that's how it is in every slate. It's not going to be any different on this slate. So, Kyle Freeland can definitely shut this team down. I do have a little bit of interest. When I first saw that, we had a core slate, I was like, oh, no way I'm playing Kyle Freeland. But then I'm thinking the rest of this slate and kind of how, if I don't want to be all in on Sale Gausman, Freeland would be a really, really interesting way of getting different because Washington is going to carry a little bit of ownership.
All right, let's talk about these Washington bats. I mean, I have some interest, right? It's Coors.
Yeah.
Like Meneses is obviously he's probably my favorite. Lane Thomas should hit leadoff. He's 3,300. I mean, they're just like, hey, this is a normal game for Washington because they didn't price anybody up in this spot. So,
right.
I mean, really anybody that cracks the lineup, I'm going to have interest in for Washington, and I hope. Honestly, I kind of hope some of these lefties crack the lineup just because people hate playing lefty-lefty. And I mean, I have no problems taking some shots on them. Alex Call should hit second. So you can go like a Thomas Call Meneses, like 3-man. I don't hate that. And then
for like under 7,000 or
I
like
know it's so crazy how these guys aren't priced up at all.
that's just gonna be chalky though, Stevie. Right?
No,
I
I know.
mean, like,
But I mean,
that's.
so
I'm not
the way
saying
that
it's
you
gonna.
get,
I'm not gonna say it's gonna fail though, but it is gonna be popular.
I mean, okay, so if I'm playing these guys, maybe I'm leaving like $2,000 or $3,000 on the bench, like just
Yeah.
trying to make my team just as unique as possible. And I mean, leaving salary on the bench might be the way to go because we have plenty of salary today. Stone Garrett is another guy that I like here, who has shown in very small sample size that he can hit lefties. Thoughts on Washington?
I mean, if you're playing like 20 lineups or more, I know this is kind of a cop out answer, but I would have exposure to both Washington and Freeland because I could really see this game. I could really see Freeland being a top 3 pitcher on the slate and Washington like busting, right? I could also see Washington absolutely smashing their price tags. So I would get exposure to the both sides of this game if I was making multiple teams. If I have to choose, I'm probably fading. I'm probably fading Washington in my single entry team tomorrow.
Fair enough. Rockies side of this game. I mean, they're not going to look great on paper, but this is a spot you want to target these guys.
Oh, absolutely. And they're a little harder to get to, like they're in the mid 5s, like Bryant, Blackman.
Which makes no sense. Anyway, sorry.
Well, I mean,
it makes some sense, but it still doesn't make sense.
To be honest with you, I appreciate the more aggressive pricing than what they did with Washington.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Right?
Like, it makes no
Yeah.
sense that Washington's so cheap. Like,
Right.
I am a firm believer in if everyone wants to play cores, make them pay for it. Like,
Right.
you shouldn't be able to stack cores and get the 2 highest priced pitchers on the slate.
Right, exactly. And like, CJ Crone being like, I don't want to pay 5,800 for CJ Crone, but on this slate, maybe I will. Right. Like, if it feels like, it's going to be hard to get to, if people are going to be going to the other side of this game and Colorado's going to be lower owned than Washington somehow, or at least these upper echelon Colorado bats, the more expensive ones, if they're going to be lower owned, then I'm going to try to get to them. That's the bottom line. So, I don't have a lot of interest in Profar. It would probably be more like Bryant, Crone, McMahon, 3-man or something like that. Would be probably my 3 favorite Colorado players.
Yeah, I mean, if Profar hits leadoff, I have interest. I mean, this is a guy that has hit plenty over the years, and just because he's off to a slow start doesn't bother me too much. So yeah, I mean, this is a great spot against Gray. I mean, my favorite CJ Crone. You got to pay for him, but I mean, he's the guy that's been hitting on a consistent basis to start the season. So
I also made a mistake. I didn't realize. I thought that I read that Profar was 5,600. He's 3,600.
yeah,
So he's gonna be really popular. So like for cash games, like he's gonna be like a cash game. Like he's gonna be like a bazillion % owned in cash games and probably very, very highly owned in single entries, which actually makes me maybe not want to play him. That's really cheap for him in this matchup is for 3,600. I misread it. I thought it said 5,600.
And I just want one more time to like mention that before we get into the morning grind game, there is no good hitting conditions on this slate. Like across the board, everywhere, night before, everywhere is 45 to 50 degrees. It's day baseball and it's that cold. So, I mean, just kind of remember that when thinking about like, oh, it's 45 degrees and cold or in cores. Well, it's 45 degrees and cold everywhere. So, I mean, you're just pick the spots that you like on this slate and just kind of attack it. And I think that's how I'm going to approach this slate. I don't know if I run full stacks. I might end up with like a 3-3-2 or a 3-3-1-1 or who knows? I have no idea. But I mean, I definitely think that I'll leave some salary on the table if I'm playing some of these Coors bats. All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we will get out of here. Modified morning grind game today because we don't have a ton of pitching that fits kind of the build. So give me any pitcher you want that you think will get 6 or more strikeouts today.
I'm going to go Chris Sale.
All right, I'm going to go with – I don't want to go Gaussman. I'll go Lance Lynn. Give me a pitcher that you feel is going to score under 15. Can't pick the pitchers in Coors. I'll make that rule.
All right, well, Spencer Turnbull.
Fair enough. I'll go Lyles. I think this is a really tough spot for him. All right, give me someone over 4,000 not in Coors to hit a home run today.
Not in Coors to hit a home run. Yoshida.
All right. Well, if you're going to give him to me, I'm going to take him. Give me Rafael Devers. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Not in Coors. Who do you like? I love the fact that Coors is back, and I can say that again.
I got to check Varsho's price.
He's 3,900.
Oh, perfect. That's right. Yeah, okay. I'll take Varsho.
I like it. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go way off the board today. Give me Jake Burger.
There you go.
I think I'm gonna have a burger for lunch tomorrow, so might as well root for Jake Burger too. All right, Stack to score 6 or more runs. Can't be in Coors. Who do you got?
Well, Boston.
All right, I'm gonna go Toronto. Thanks for hanging out, Tim. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. Again, if you want a chance to win a year of RotoGrinders Premium, make sure you subscribe to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind YouTube page. We're growing it. I appreciate everyone helping me out. And make sure you comment on the video below. Once we get done recording, it should pop up there on the page, and you'll be able to comment. And again, I'm going to, today and on Friday, I'm going to write everybody's name down in a hat and do it the old-fashioned, pull a name, and you're going to get a year of RotoGrinders Premium. I mean, I'm old school, man. It's fun. I'm not using no random whatever website and
random.org. I think it's
there you go.
That's what all the cool kids.
Not gonna happen. I'm gonna pull a name out of a hat. So you can comment again on Thursday and on Friday, and I'll put your name in twice. So there you go. You can have 2 chances. If you comment like 10 times on Thursday, I'm only gonna write down 1 name. So I'm gonna write it down and I'm gonna cut them out so I'll be able to see. So you'll be able to comment through the weekend, and then on Monday is when I'll write everybody's names down. So I'm busy on the weekend, so you have plenty of time to comment. Thanks again for hanging out for 7 years. 7 years. It's crazy. Hope everyone has a fantastic Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow talking some more baseball. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.